Well, Mark Meirowitz is a political analyst and professor at SUNY Maritime College in New York and joins me now live. Thank you very much indeed for your time. Mark, Donald Trump says he has plenty of evidence which will show that he will be exonerated, and he's called this politically motivated. But it's hard to think of any evidence that will be as damning as that recording with Brad Raffensperger when he was heard essentially telling a fellow Republican to flip the state.
Well, I mean, that's your interpretation of it. I mean, that's a debatable point. And I don't know that that's really the crux of this case. The crux of the case is this RICO, this racketeer influence enterprise, this corrupt organization that apparently worked together in lockstep. And I think that that is going to be very tough. By the way, the irony of it is that the person who started to use this RICO enterprise crime argument was Giuliani. Many years ago, when Giuliani was U.S. attorney, he used it against organized crime, which actually is the reason for the RICO, which has been used for the organized crime, for drug syndicates, for street gangs and criminal organizations. This one really sort of breaks new ground, especially because it indicts a president. And it indicts 18 indicted co-conspirators and 30 unindicted co-conspirators. So there is this thing is hugely complicated. So the idea that this adds on to the other makes it very, very problematic.
Yeah, and the idea with these RICO charges, Mark, I understand, is that it works like a pyramid. Many other people are indicted, a great number, as you've just said, with the idea that they're trying to get the man at the very top. And what they'll have to do, the prosecutors, is prove that Donald Trump was driving the bus.
Exactly. And that might be very difficult to do because, as you just reported, Trump is planning to relitigate and reanalyze the entire election. So this case is literally the kitchen sink. This is everything. It also accuses people who never set foot in Georgia, lawyers who were counsel to the president, who have, if you've been reading in the news, you see they're all taking the position that I'm a lawyer and I'm not responsible. It's a complete melange or mixture of all kinds of people, including the president, as you say correctly, to try to get at the president as the hub of the wheel, as the sort of Wizard of Oz, the guy that runs the wheel and runs the enterprise. And that, I think, will be very difficult to show. By the way, if you compare this indictment to the state indictment in Georgia to the federal indictment of Jack Smith, you will see that Jack Smith had a much more pared down, simple set of accusations. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but he didn't go as far as this. And the question is, will this really succeed as far as a strategy to have this kind of a big, gigantic case with the strategy as you indicated? It's really questionable.
And these cases, Mark, infamously go on for some amount of time. You mentioned the other indictment. Well, one of the other indictments, he's got 3 others pending at the moment. These are racking up for Donald Trump. Is there any way that the prosecutors will be able to coordinate? I mean, do we know who's going to get a first crack at the whip at this?
Well, first of all, if you look at the indictments, the hush money indictment in the state of New York relates to activities Trump did before he was president. The classified documents indictment in Florida, that's for classified document mishandling after he was president. The 2 key cases are the Jack Smith federal indictment and this one in the state of Georgia. And this is going to certainly require some coordination among these cases. And of course, you have the conundrum or the enigma of the fact that this is an election year in the United States. So
are Republicans still going to back him, Mark? Are Republicans still going to back him?
It is fairly clear that the polls have risen in terms of Trump each time he's indicted. In fact, he recently tweeted that all he needed was this 4th indictment and he would win the presidency. So it doesn't look like the base has been shifting at all. And in fact, I mean, I'm not saying there's anything behind this, a strategy to bring all these cases, some sort of a central strategy, but it would appear that Republicans who support Trump are not weakening in their support of him. And I think one of the problems with this whole scenario is that this indictment, for example, it's 98 some pages. It's awfully complicated. It's so convoluted that adding it on to the other cases and coming into an election year is going to be a tremendous confusion for the electorate in this country, to be able to focus on the election and also to be able to watch these cases proceed. It is, and particularly this case, because of its utter complexity, it is so hard to follow. You know, one of the commentators on the other networks was saying that, you know, Jack Smith's indictment is like you read it at the beach. It's not a book you read at the beach, very simple to understand. But this one is way, way, way so complicated.
Mark, we thank you very much indeed for your time. Appreciate you coming on the News Hour.
Thank you very much.